without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in New York governor candidate for 2026, Larry Sharpe. Welcome to the Homeless Left, Larry.
How are you guys? Hope you can hear me well.
We got you loud and clear.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time, being with us here on the show. And we're in a space that we love these conversations. As Jay said right before we brought you in, this is what we do. We align on common ground. We don't have to agree on everything, but understand that we're all coming from a good, honest place, and that these discussions we're having, they're not dangerous. We've been told that words are violence, but no, we need to have these discussions and support each other, even if we disagree on stuff.
I would argue the exact opposite. And what I'm saying is, when people don't have an ability to discuss, to talk, they resort to violence. The reason why we have so many people moving that is because they feel like there's no other option. When someone resorts to violence, they are literally saying to themselves, this seems to be the best answer for me right now. That's what they're actually saying. And in most cases, when it comes to mass violence, the mass violence actually, while it is murder, obviously, at its core, it's a public suicide. And you have to understand that it's true. It's a surrender is what it actually is. When you give young men particularly, but everyone, but in this case, violence is often young men. When you give young men no purpose, when you give them no reason to do something, they surrender. And how do they surrender? They either check out, as about 8 to 10 million young men have already done so across our country. They're not going for work. They're not looking for relationships. They're not making families. They've checked out, or they resort to violence. And they think the answer is becoming a martyr somehow. Years ago, I was on Rogan in 2018. Back then, I told him that the answer is what's killing our children is not guns, is not violence, is not words. It is three things. It is lack of purpose, lack of community, and loneliness. That's what's killing our young people. That's really the death knell. If we change that, the rest will come. These conversations allow people to say, hey, I want to fix things. And Jay is exactly right. When you have a left and right paradigm the way we have it now, there's no way to get together and have a single issue coalition. Right? So whether if the left says hemp is good, the right must say it's bad. If the right says hemp is good, the left must say it's bad. There's no way to create a single issue coalition. But when you have a We the People party, a Libertarian party, insert other party that says, hey, wait a minute, we just want to push this one issue. Both sides can coalesce on that one party to get the one issue done.
Yeah, that's how organizing is supposed to work. And it's crazy that we grew up in a society that told us to, like you're saying, get on your team, be against what the other side is saying. And we see it with every issue that you think would be important. And we saw it mostly with I think anti-war was the thing, and where I can align with Jay. And we came from a place of the left where we thought that party aligned with those values. And then it turns out they don't. And then the other side, we said, oh, well, maybe the right does. Well, they don't also. No. So they pick and choose. Like you said, it's a what are they doing? We're going to do the opposite, but nobody's acting out of principles. Is that something that we're talking about now that we're, having this discussion? How do you bring principles back into the discussion? Yeah. It's exactly like this, running on these two different parties. Yeah.
Anti-war is only in independent parties right now. It doesn't exist in the main parties. Right. They have nice rhetoric, right? Like their war is the good war, but the other war is the bad war, right? So the war that they like, that's the war you should like. The other war, the other guy, well, that's the bad war. So that's how that works. We're the only ones saying, how about we stop bombing people? How about we just stop bombing? I mean, that would be how about we stop supporting others bombing people? Why don't we just either stop bombing people and stop supporting others bombing people? How about that? And I think you're right. That's the third party is the only place that goes. I would argue against the principle piece. Let me explain why. Principles are wonderful, but if I can't pay my rent, I don't care. If I can't start my family, I don't care. Remember, people beg for authoritarianism because they're unhappy. Happy people don't beg for either some socialist dictator or some fascist dictator or some communist dictator or some monarchist dictator or whatever dictator you want. They don't beg for that. They don't beg for a strong man unless they're unhappy. Right? So happy people gets rid of authoritarianism. So we have to work on that core piece. If we can make people happier. Look, our founding documents, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. They knew it back then. It was right back then. It's right now. The problem is we're working on only fear. So principles are nice, But what I actually want is answers. I want someone, because here's the problem. When I'm drowning and someone puts their hand out and says, hey, I'm going to help, I grab that hand. I don't care what's on that armband. If it's a hammer and sickle, okay. If it's a swastika, okay. I don't care what's on that armband. It doesn't matter if there's no armband at all. I don't care. Someone's grabbing a hand to pull me out of the water. I take the hand. We have to start taking the hand of people and bringing them forward in different ways with different answers. If we have, this is why Mamdani is popular in New York City. You may not like Mamdani, you may love Mamdani, but here's the reality. I've interviewed him on my show before. He's my assemblyman. I know him, right? He's a nice guy. I disagree with a lot of his. I agree with his outcomes. I don't always agree with the way he gets there, but the reality is he does have answers. Cuomo has no answers. No one else has answers, right? Eric Adams has been running our city for 4 years. No answers. Nothing's getting better. So here comes Mamdani and says, I got an answer. I'll freeze your rent. People go, oh, okay. I'll give you free buses. Okay. Hey, Cuomo, what you got? Mamdani's bad. Okay, that's not paying my rent. Well, socialism bad. That doesn't pay my rent. And then Mamdani says, I'll freeze the rent. That pays my rent. Okay, I'm gonna listen to Mamdani. And it's grossly that simple when it comes to people being in trouble.
Yeah, no, and it's the fact that he can even just run on these things is such a huge leap. It shows how low the bar has been set.
Correct.
Because we know that the Democratic Party up until now, and Mamdani seems to be a little bit of an exception, at least on how he runs his campaign. He's actually talking about these things where we had the entire party not even mentioning anything they're going to do other than Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad for the last decade. So it is a breath of fresh air. How can we So I guess I would say this. He's talking about these things. Does that mean they're actually going to be happening, or is it just good enough for New Yorkers just to feel good that he's actually saying things that are connected?
New Yorkers don't care. Someone put a hand out, they're going to grab it. Yeah. That's what I just said. They don't care. Most of them, to be forward, don't know how it gets done. The average New Yorker doesn't know how the system works. They're living their life. They're not sitting there saying, will that work through the assembly or the Senate? The average New Yorker isn't doing that. Is that a governor? Is that a governor or a mayor? Does that work through the city council? The average New Yorker goes, can I just go to work and spend time with my kids? That's what the average New Yorker thinks. So they don't care. To be forward with you, the odds of them getting most of that done depend on only one thing. How scared is Kathy Hochul? That's it. Kathy Hochul does not care about Mamdani. She doesn't care about New York City. She never has. She wouldn't know a good policy if it bit her in the ass. She has no idea what it is. She has no concept. She knows how to spend money and give jobs to her friends, and she's very good at that. And that's why she's in power. She is the ring giver. She is the job giver. That's what she does very well. If that will keep her in power, the right always screams things like, Kathy Hochul's a Marxist. She's a communist. She's none of that. She is a mainstream corporate Democrat who would become communist if it got her elected, she'd become a Republican tomorrow if it got her elected. She wouldn't care. She just wants to stay elected. That's what matters. So if people push her to support Mamdani, which they did, which is why she showed up at his event, and she hopes she doesn't get primaried from the left, if she is worried, she will be more leftist. She will help Mamdani. If not, she will backstab him, stop him in every way. The problem with New York City, most people don't know, New York City is the only major city in the entire country. I think in the entire country, every city that is actually in more than one county. Every other city is within one county, right? Los Angeles within Los Angeles County, right? They're all within their own county. Chicago's within Cook County, is that right? I think that's correct, but it's one county. New York City's 5 counties. Why does that matter? That means the governor has more power because it's multi-county. So the governor has more power in New York City than the mayor does in many cases. Not just that, our infrastructure crosses into other states. Our bridges and tunnels go to MTA and such. They go to Connecticut. They go to New Jersey, which means our president has say in it, which is one of the reasons why Trump had say in congestion pricing, because it crosses states. So Mamdani has a lot of ideas. Many of them can't be put into place unless he has help. That's what Cuomo's been saying. It hasn't worked because nobody cares. They care that somebody has an answer and they're grabbing his hand. They don't care, Matt. Your question is a valid question. And I'm telling you, if they're not afraid, he will get nothing done. If they are afraid, he will get some things done. They will do just what's enough that they believe will keep them in power. That's all they can. Remember, a Republican has not won a statewide election, meaning across the entire state, senator, governor, AG, in my state, in 23 years. And the state's getting bluer, not redder, as people leave the state and go to Florida and Texas and Tennessee. They leave. So there is zero chance of a Republican winning in a statewide election. Now, locally, Republicans win all the time. But statewide election, impossible in my state, will never happen. That's a fantasy. And Hochul knows that. So what is she worried about? She's worried about a challenge from the left, not from the right. And Mamdani shows you this. New York City has been a disaster since COVID, right? It's been a disaster. So you think, well, great. That means New Yorkers now will go vote Republican. They'll vote for Curtis Sliwa. No, they hate Republicans. It's 6-1 in my city, Democrats, Republican. Where I live in Queens, I live in Queens. Mamdani is my assemblyman. The Republicans don't even run a candidate. There's no candidate. Mamdani wins 99-1. 1% is write-ins. That's Joseph Stalin numbers. That's Kim Jong-un numbers, right? Saddam Hussein would be like, damn, you got those numbers? Like Saddam Hussein would be jealous if he was alive right now. That's how good Mamdani gets numbers. So that's the issue. When New Yorkers get upset, they go further left. They don't go for the right.
That's a great point. And, just to add to what you were saying, in addition to, Kathy's power, the Democrat and Republican parties, the way they're all set up, there's a ton of power concentrated on the state committees and the boards that influence those committees. So that brings me to my next question, actually, perfectly. So, what makes the We the People Party different from other third parties, in your opinion, and what made you decide to join it while still retaining your libertarian affiliation?
There were several reasons. There were tactical reasons. There were ideological reasons. And there's future reasons. There's many. The future reason, we need multiple parties in New York State. We have to have them. We don't. And it's so bad that the Republicans and Democrats are the only real parties in my state. You might go, Larry, but there's a conservative party and a working families party. They are puppet parties. They simply do whatever the big boys say. If you think I'm wrong, you cannot find them support another governor or president candidate in 40 years. They just follow whatever Republicans and Democrats do. They just copy them, right? So now I got to go one step further. Last year, 2024, New York State was the only state in the entire union that did not have an independent candidate on the ballot. The only one, none. Some states had 4, 5, 6, 7. We had 0. In 2022, it was the first time we didn't have independents on the ballot for a governor race in almost 100 years. First time. Now you might say, why does that matter? Because in New York State, the only way you can become a party for state law is through a governor or presidential candidate. So they have set the rules up to ensure there cannot be any other political parties in New York State, because that's the only, we could win a Senate seat. Doesn't matter. We can control the assembly. Does not matter. You are not a political party in New York State by New York State election law unless you have a presidential and or gubernatorial candidate that gets a certain amount of signatures and a certain amount of votes. Otherwise, you're not a party. They have literally outlawed all parties except Republican, Democrat. Now you might go, well, there's still a choice. As I said, that New York City is 6-1 Democrat, Republican. New York State is 3-1 Democrat, Republican. We now have a one-party state, which means if you lean left, you don't get what you want because the establishment always wins. They know you're going to vote for them. Go to hell. If you lean right, they literally tell you to leave. I'm not joking. Cuomo, his words, he said, there is no room for conservatives in my state. Kathy Hochul said, if you vote Republican, you are anti-American and anti-woman, and you should get on a bus and go to Florida. Look it up. She said those words. That's what she said. So now we have a one-party system. This is North Korea light. Now, what's the future? I can tell you what the future is. It's Nebraska and Utah. Nebraska and Utah are the opposite. They are heavy Republican, 4-1 Republican in Utah. I think the same in Nebraska. Why does that matter? Literally, the Democrats do not run candidates for Senate anymore. Utah doesn't, for U.S. Senate, not state Senate, United States Senate. The Democrats say we can't bother running one because we can't raise money, we can't win. That's the end. What's done? So independents have to run those two states. We need to build that in New York State too, because eventually next 2-3 cycles, Republicans will not be able to run statewide candidates in New York State anymore. Same thing will happen. They won't be able to. They can't raise money. They won't be able to raise anybody. That's why Curtis Sliwa ran for mayor. No one wanted to do it. No one wanted to do it.
I want to welcome our audience from Due Dissidents. They've joined the stream. Good timing on that, because we're talking with Larry Sharpe, running for New York governor right now, talking about the need for more third parties in New York State. So welcome everyone from Due Dissidents. Larry, can I ask you this? What you ran first back in 2018.
Yep.
You ran as a libertarian.
Yep.
And now you're running jointly as a libertarian and We the People's candidate.
Yep.
What have you learned from the 2018 run that you can apply now? And also the backup question, how has the optics changed from then to now as well? So how is it a different?
Okay. How many hours do we have? There's so much.
Time.
Yes, there's so much. No, you're totally right. In 2018, I was able to do better than 2022 for an important reason. Nobody took me seriously. They didn't think I was going to really run hard. I multiplied the last guy's run by like 16. Like, he got hardly any votes and I got almost 100,000. So it was a big difference. I raised $500,000. He didn't raise 10,000. So nobody raises more money as a libertarian in the country except for Joe Jorgensen and Gary Johnson, our two presidential candidates. Otherwise, I raised the most money. So they didn't expect any of that. They didn't know I was a fundraiser and that I didn't care and that would go out. And I actually literally quit working. I just did this full time for a year and a half. So I go to every single county. I did almost 300 events during that one, all live like this. Plus I was on a bunch of podcasts from people didn't think I was going to be on a podcast. They didn't think podcasts matter back then. They didn't think it was 8 years ago, right? Now everybody wants to be on Joe Rogan, right?
Right.
I was on 7 years ago. Then it was like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? That's what it was then, right? So they didn't think it mattered. I was on Glenn Beck. They didn't think that stuff mattered back then. So that's why I was able to do so well in 2018. They didn't see me coming. At the end of at the end of it, maybe around October of 2018, that's when the knives really came out. And that's when I started doing a lot of things, which I learned the hard way. Like, why wasn't I being covered in the press? And like, I was raising money. I was on the ballot. I was out there and he wouldn't cover me. Why wouldn't they cover me? And I asked them, they said, well, you don't buy ads. What? Yeah. Buy ads on the radio station. And then when you're on a radio station, then we'll put you in and you can come in for a radio interview. Buy ads on a TV station and we'll cover you in the morning show. Done.
Pay to play.
Pay to play. That's what it was. Yep. So then I went to the next thing. Why am I not in polls? Right? Again, I was Libertarian Party candidate. I was raising $500,000. I'm a player. I'm on the ballot. Why am I not in the polls? And they said, well, you don't buy the poll. What? Yeah, buy the poll. So if I buy the poll minute, yeah, buy the poll. We'll put whatever you want in it. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. How much the poll cost? $40,000. How am I going to pull $40,000 when I only raise $500,000 total? Wow. Pay to play. Pay to play. I learned that the hard way in 2018. And then how they use polls to attack. I remember the poll in 2018 in October. I was not ready for it at all. I was not prepared for this. I was doing well, going back and forth, and I'm out in Western New York. And for those of you who don't know, Western New York is probably the highest by percentage of libertarians in the state. I got 9% in some of the counties out there, which is huge for someone, in that kind of state. So in any case, I'm out there and someone's interviewing the Republican at the time. And he says to the Republican, how are you going to handle Larry Sharpe out here in Western New York? This is Sharpe country. And when that was said, immediately the Republican Party gave tons of money to him. Attack ads came out of nowhere. Literally, it was like, Larry Sharpe is a Cuomo plant, because Cuomo was the governor back then. Larry Sharpe is a Cuomo plant. Totally not true. Just came out of nowhere. Oh, that's obviously in mainstream media because they buy it, right? So that's obviously the mainstream media. All of a sudden, I'm anti-gun. I'm the only Second Amendment candidate in the entire state. All of a sudden, I'm anti-cop. My father was in law enforcement. All of a sudden, I'm anti-cop. All of a sudden, I'm all the anti-things. All of a sudden, and they throw that out like nothing. And I was able to counter that. That I dealt with. I didn't expect it, but I could counter that, right? By playing it up, leaning in, things like that. But then they hit me with a thing I couldn't stop. 3 weeks before the election, they put out a poll that shows their guy is within striking distance. It was absolutely a bullshit poll. Bought by them, not a real poll at all. He's in like 5 points. He lost by 30. You can go check it out. He lost by 30 points in 2018, and it was 3-4. He's in striking distance. It made every Democrat afraid to vote for me because they thought if I don't vote for Cuomo, the Republican wins. And every Republican got afraid of voting for me because, oh my God, our guy could win. When that happened, it cut my votes at least by half. I was not ready for that at all. That was the fatal blow in my 2018 campaign that I was not prepared for. So I learned all of that in 2018. Now comes 2022. That I got down. I have spent the 3 years learning, getting my lawyers together, getting my money right. I'm prepared for 2022 for all that. I had a PAC that was buying polling for me already. So I had my counter polling prepared. I learned my 2018 lessons. I did. So I went to them and I was like, hey, look, we can make this work. We could do this. Why? The state is going to go independent before it goes red. There's no way New York State is going to vote Republican. Not going to happen. Let me join with you. Let me join the Republican Party. Let me run in the Republican primary. Now, in New York State, we have what's called fusion voting, which means you can be on multiple lines at the same time. So I could run in a Republican primary, not as a Republican, but as a Libertarian. Just like Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat, but he runs Democratic primary. I could follow the Bernie Sanders model, but do it in a Republican primary. Why? I told myself, I'll win the Republican primary. You know I'll win it. I'll win it. And when I win it, I'll have the Republican line, Libertarian line, Conservative line. At that point, I was courting the Unite line and also the Forward Party line. So I was courting multiple lines. So I get 3, 4, who knows how many lines I could get at the time against, at that time was Cuomo. Cuomo's 2 lines. That was a winnable race. And I told them that. They were like, you're right, it is. What was their answer? They sued me off the ballot.
Wow.
That was their answer. They spent 6 figures. I was in court 8 times. I spent all the money I raised $500,000. I spent it all on getting on the ballot in lawsuits. That's why the 2022 campaign was forgotten. I couldn't spend any money. I couldn't spend any money on travel. I couldn't spend any money on Facebook ads. I couldn't spend any money on signs. I had to spend all my money on trying to get in the ballot and lawsuits and lawyers. And it was just insane. And in the end, after 8 of them, I lost. So I couldn't get in the ballot. And with that in mind, they still polled, trying to get people to not vote for me because I was a write-in campaign for spite. So I was staying in anyway, just to spite them, and did a poll, and I still polled with Trafalgar at 3%. This is a broken Republican Trafalgar poll, and they still have me at 3%.
Wow.
So I still poll well. Those lessons I have now learned that it's not about winning. It's about grifting. I didn't know that then. I thought, well, no, they'd want power, grip. No. Any party that's secondary, the Democrats in Utah, Republicans in New York State, they're happy with their small fiefdom. They're happy with their crumbs. They just want to stay in power and make their money and get their crumbs. They're happy with that. I didn't recognize that. I still thought, well, they want to change things. And no, they don't. That was silly of me. So that's what I learned in 2022. So I bring all of that now into 2026. So yes, I am prepared for all those battles. They better come up with some absolutely new shit this time. Otherwise, I got them.
You know, we saw the exact same thing you mentioned with the polling in the RFK campaign too, because I saw a few polls that came out at one point that actually had RFK ranked as more favorable and winning a 3-way election between him, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden. There was one poll I saw that came out like that, but every poll in mainstream media always had him at 2, maybe 3% the highest, and that alone would discourage people from even thinking about it. So they do weaponize polls as a habit, you know, over there. So yeah, it's amazing seeing that play out at that level too. So yeah, you know, with that being said, you know, I did want to ask you, so, you know, you've mentioned it a few times now, New York is more of a liberal state. You know, what in your platform would you like some of the liberals in New York who were unhappy with the current state of the Democratic Party to look for, you know, within your platform? So what parts of your platform would you like them to know about?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, we want I use 4 pieces. I talk about 4 pieces all the time: affordability, opportunity, safety, and liberty. Those are the 4 planks I try to work off, those 4, right? Because the goal is to stop people from leaving the state and to get more people to come back, right? And if you cover those 4, that will happen. Right now, New York State loses 300,000 people per year. So I've got to bring those people back. I got to stop the bleeding and bring them back. So there are several things. What I would say is, if you're further left, even more left even than most Democrats, I'm open to a public bank. I think a public bank may be something that we can do, particularly at the local level. We're talking at counties or municipalities for several reasons. Number one, I think you want to make it to where local people who want to, as an example, buy out businesses that are going under so they can create worker co-ops. Right now, worker co-ops have a big problem, and the problem is actually cultural. Most people think they can't work, they're dumb, this is for hippies on a farm, right? It's a cultural issue that people don't get, that co-ops can work, and there are some that are effective, but I don't want to force the issue. I'm a libertarian, so no force. So it's something very simple like this. If there is a business in your county that's going out of business, you get a 60-day right of first refusal grace period where the workers can purchase that if they want to. Voluntarily. If they don't want to, they can just go off, do what they want, but if they want to, they may. They get a right of first refusal. Now, of course, the answer becomes, wait a minute, Larry, where do you get the money from? Two spots. Number one, they will get money because the state is going to pay all of them a bunch of money anyway, unemployment, anyway. So the state will put all that money up front. All the money of all the people there up front. First piece, boom. Don't pay you every month. Here's money up front to buy the business and to invest in the business, and the public bank can then support that and match that. That becomes a down payment so the public bank feels comfortable, and it will also support you. So those who together will support the people in purchasing that business. So now they can if they want to. Again, it's voluntary. You don't want to, go get a job, leave, whatever you want. You want to, there is assistance from the government and from the public bank to make it happen so local people can grow local business and local co-ops in their own world. That's number one. Number two, if you are this is to keep localism in general. If you are a local farmer or a local small business and you agree to only sell it within New York State, you should be immune from all federal regulatory bodies. What does that mean? If you want to do farm to table, go ahead. If you want to be a small business that just delivers, you can. You're immune from federal regulatory bodies. You only follow state guidelines only. What does that mean? All those franchises, they're all international, or at least across the state. They all have to follow extra guidelines. They have extra hoops to jump through, giving you a bit of an advantage so you can survive locally. More people locally surviving. My biggest piece is localism. That piece matters tremendously. I want people to be able to be back in their communities. And that's falling apart right now, horribly. Next, we should consider having a New York State social trust, similar to a sovereign fund that you see in places like Norway and Singapore. If we can make that happen, we could then allow that to pay for education. Education is massive in New York State. It's the highest in the world. Over $35,000 to $40,000 per kid per year. It's insane. It's insane. The average private school across the state is about $8,000. Right now, in New York City, that's skewed much higher in New York City. But outside of New York City, it's low. You can get them for like $6, $7, $8 grand outside of New York City. New York City is higher. I mean, you're looking at maybe 12 grand is like the minimum in New York City. Some are 30, 40 grand a year. But anyway, still, we're still way higher than the average in New York State. If that begins to happen, a couple of things happen. One, if you allow this to go directly to the school district, there is now no need for federal funds, no need for state funds. If that's the case, there's no strings attached. Local school districts have actual control over their schools. Right now, they don't. Imagine you want to put shop back in your school. You put home ec in your school. You want to have farming in your school. You want to have civics in your school. You can have it. Now you can't because that's not in the test, and federal funds stop that. That's the strings attached, right? Gone. No issue. Not just that, all those administrators. What we worry about in schools often is, well, I got teachers who aren't good teachers. That's a problem we always have. I get it. The average teacher in New York State makes about $70,000, $80,000 a year. For most areas, that is a livable wage. Not all, but most areas, a livable wage. But the average administrator makes at least double. There are administrators in New York State that make $400 grand a year. And they're not dealing with kids. Well, why are they there? Federal guidelines, state guidelines. Once those are gone, a lot of them will be fired. What does that mean? Now, teachers can get raises if they want to, or you can hire more teachers if that's the right answer. But local districts can decide, do I need more teachers? Should I give teachers raises? Whatever the case may be. They may do so as they see fit. I don't have to decide. They can decide. And if people make mistakes, and they will, people will learn. Oh, we shouldn't have hired a teacher. We should have given raises. Or we shouldn't have given raises. We should have given teachers help. Whatever. I mean, they'll decide, and it'll begin to work that way. But I got to add a piece. It'll be $18,000 per kid per district. with that in mind, is a $6,000 credit that goes to homeschooling and or private schooling. Why 6,000? It's 1/3 because I still want kids to be able to use the facilities of the district. So you can be homeschooled, but be on a football team. You can go to private school, but still hang out, in the math club, whatever. I want you to still use the facilities. I want the communities to not be broken up. Just because you decide to raise your child a different way, still have communities together. So I want that to happen if we can. So all those will work. Next, cannabis. Cannabis right now, we've decided in New York State to create an Office of Cannabis Management. An Office of Cannabis Management. Cannabis has been in the black market for 100 years. Where's all the deaths from cannabis? Don't exist. No need. It's useless. What does it do? It's another way for the governor to give jobs out to the people they want to give jobs out to, and people who they want to give the licenses to. No, I joke and say regulate it like onions. That's a joke. I said it once. I was actually in Western New York when someone asked me, and in Western New York we grow onions. So I said regulate it like onions. What I meant was any plant, you can't buy it at retail unless you're 18 years or older. That's it. Let farmers do what they want, create hempcrete, hemp plastic. We should treat cannabis just like hemp. It's the same plant, same everything, treat it as such. Now, local farmers can create local cannabis products yet again, because again, if they are actually local and they want to only sell locally, they're immune from federal regulatory bodies. Well, guess what? You now add, if we're smart and we add community banking, well, now we can bank them. Federally, you can't bank them. Well, now you could. Community bank. You could bank them locally. So you could actually use banks, right? You could actually allow people and farms to grow. One part I didn't bring up, I'm sorry, I got to go one step further, which helps with localized people. If you decide to pay for a school with the New York State Social Trust, there's no need for school tax. Depending upon where you are in New York State, about half of your property tax is school tax. That means property tax goes down by half. When that happens, people can stay in the state. Huge difference. So I hope that I gave you, I could go on forever. For anybody who's a policy wonk, you can go to my Larry Sharpe YouTube page if you want to, and type in 8 hours. I did 8 hours straight without a bathroom break, without a food break. And I talked about policies for New York. And by the way, it's timestamped. I wasn't joking when I said, how long do you have?
Right.
I agree. Sorry, let me just ask one follow-up question, then I'll pass it back to you, Matt. So in the spirit of localism, like you just mentioned, I know that's a big theme in your platform. Now, hypothetically speaking, if you have some folks out there in New York who are loving what you're saying right now, they're interested in maybe getting more involved in the We the People Party directly, but they do lean further left and say they identify as socialists, but they can still find some common ground with you. If there were more people who were interested in joining the We the People Party, could you see yourself supporting a candidate who identifies as socialist if they're finding that common ground with you and they're sticking to the tenets of the We the People Party? Are you willing to build that bridge with someone if they identify as a different label?
100%. And let me explain why. Two things. If you notice what I talk about, what I'm against is forced socialism. I'm not against voluntary socialism. I'm just telling you co-ops are fine because they're voluntary, right? The Amish are voluntary socialists. I'm not against the Amish. I love the Amish, right? That's great. So what I'm going to give you, if you are a socialist, is the opportunity for you to locally be as socialist as you want to be. If you want workers to own the means of production, I will allow you to. I will encourage you to. I'm telling you, I just got to give you a policy that will allow the government to support you in doing so. You will get none of that from the Republicans, none of that from Democrats. If Democrats wanted that, they've run this state for at least 30 years. They would have given you that already. They're not going to. They're not going to. So you'll get something from me. You'll get nothing from them. The outcomes that socialists want are the same outcomes that I want. I just don't want to go there that way. I'll give you an example. Mom Donnie wants free buses. I'm not against free buses at all. We pay tons of taxes. I think it's great if we could have free buses. However, and I said this once, I was on a Sabby Sabs podcast, and I told her, free or cheap. Here's why I would say free or cheap. I haven't done the homework on this. Sometimes when you provide free places for people, people show up and crowd it so it can't be used. That does happen in some cities. I don't know how New York City, we might have to test free and see. My example I give all the time is that there were people giving out free healthcare. I think this was in Singapore or maybe Japan, I forgot. And what wound up happening is seniors would flood the hospital every day as a place to hang out because it was free. Well, you might go, well, I want seniors to hang out. I do too, but let's find another place for them and not crowd the hospital for people who are having heart attacks.
Right.
So they had to charge something, and it was like $1. I mean, it was very cheap. It was like $1. So with that, the seniors stopped showing up for nothing. They found other places to hang out. My worry is if we do free buses, will it allow for a bunch of loitering kids or teenagers or elderly people or home people to just hang out in the buses all day, and then the buses don't work anymore because there's no room for people? I don't know that. If that's the case, I'd rather have cheap bus, like 25 cents or 50, something like that. Some very, you might say, does that small number count? It does. Statistically, no. If you charge somebody anything, it will lower loiters. Now, again, I don't know if that would happen in New York City. That's why I don't want to say free buses. I say free or cheap, whichever makes the most sense where we can get the buses to work. But I want to go further, not just buses. Why not the subways? Why not why don't we end the tolls on the bridges? And we can. Now, I know the answer is tax the rich. That does not work. I know socialists hate when I say that. It is true. There is zero example of it ever working. It does not work. The people in the other countries done it, they stopped. Well, no, the rich don't leave. Then why does the IRS say that that New York State loses $20 billion every year due to migration? Because people are leaving. Why in the world have we lost in the last one or two Congress people? Why are we losing Congress people? Because people are leaving. People are leaving New York State. It is happening. The worse it gets. Here's a better way. I mean, keep businesses here. Imagine if instead the MTA would allow freight to come into the city at night on the subways. Subways that may be running at 1/3 the run. So every third train is a maintenance train. Every third train is a passenger train. Every third train is a freight train. Freight comes into the city. What does that do? Less wear and tear on my roads, less pollution in my city. And I got this now coming in. What will happen? They will pay for that happily. Happily, they'll pay for it. They'll spend $2 or $3 billion to fix the entire system. And when they fix it, it'll be nice and neat. It'll be safe because they ain't gonna lose their packages. They may not care about me or you, Jay, but they care about their packages, right? So I get that. They will take care of their packages. We happen to be in the same system. They will Wi-Fi the entire thing. But Larry, that'll cost $2-3 billion. Amazon spends $10 billion every year just on marketing. Just on marketing. Yeah. They'll be fine. They'll pay it happily. So would UPS, so would FedEx. They would fix that entire thing. We get a brand new system, all Wi-Fi'd up, safe with new tracks, all done, knocked out within a year or two. How do I know that? Because the city won't build it. The city just gets a check. The city gets paid for it. It gets done. We give them sponsorship of like, it's not the, station X. It's the Google station. I don't care. People get mad. I don't want to see Google stations. Do you want a free subway? Yes, then shut up. You see ads all over your phone, over your computer every day. So stop with your self-righteousness, right? It's not, take a Google station and get 25 cents for ride so that people can use the subway and the buses. And here's the best part. We do that. We then add it to bridges. We lease out naming rights to bridges. When we do that, they cover the maintenance and they'll pay us $100 million to put a name on a bridge. I know that because they're paid $20 million a year for a stadium that's used on the weekends. They'll give us $100 million for a bridge. Easy. And take care of the maintenance. We do a 12-year lease, front load it. They're happy. Well, if they're paying for the maintenance, why do we need tolls? So now I got no tolls on my bridges. I got less wear and tear on my roads. I got less pollution on my roads. I got 25 cents or free, depending on what works, on my subways and my buses in New York City. I got a brand new system and I got Wi-Fi in my system and I didn't raise one tax dollar. In fact, if you do my other plan, I actually just cut property tax by 50%.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, those tolls are actually a regressive tax. They hit the middle class and the lower class the hardest because it takes amount of their income to pay for those tolls going across the bridge. So here we have
the wealthy already live in the Manhattan. They're not using the bridges.
Yeah, good point. And so here we have a libertarian arguing against regressive taxation, everybody. There's common ground. There's common ground. Just saying. Back to you, Matt.
So I hear some very innovative ideas from you, Larry. This idea of you are attracting people from the left with this empowerment of the people, of local empowerment. You're talking about education. You're talking about housing. You're talking about cannabis. You're talking about all these different things that can be empowered to local people, so they're not relying on federal laws or federal help, but they're doing it themselves. So yeah, this definitely seems like something that can cross over from people on both sides. And we say both sides as if there's only two sides. There's people that don't want to be part of that anymore, and I think that's why you're attracting those, right? Exactly. So and I just want to piggyback off of the stuff you said you learned earlier about 2018 to now, and you did run independently as a libertarian. Now you're running with We the People and Libertarian. Do you feel that some of your ideals as a libertarian have shifted in any way since the time of 2018? We've lived through COVID. You mentioned COVID earlier, how it's destroyed New York. What role do you see as the governor as far as, let's say we had another like COVID part 2, and what role would you be in if you had to step up and deal with this national crisis and this global event? How would you manage yourself as a libertarian minded person?
Absolutely.
But protecting the people of New York from whatever fascist ideas they throw at us in the next one.
One of the overall issues that I saw that overlap with libertarians and We the People is medical freedom. That is such an overlap. It's basically the same, right? It's basically the same. So you have a couple things. Back when it was happening, I literally put out I think it's eight-part series on what we should do during the lockdowns. And I did it in March of 2020. It's still on my Larry Sharpe YouTube page. If anyone wants to go, it's still there. I kept it there. It's right there if you can check it out. I did not take it off. And everything I said there, it wasn't perfect. I knew what I knew and what I didn't know, but it was better than what we did. I am totally okay with the government being a center for information, right? Being a central repository for information. So what I would have done, and I said it then, and I say it now, if it happens again, number one, the government would say, here is a page you can go to see what's going on in the state. Here is what the government believes you should do. With the government believes you should do X, Y, and Z for business, X, Y, and Z for your personal life. It's what government believes. If you're a business and you follow what the government says, our inspectors will come by and give you a stamp saying you are following government guidelines. But I'm not going to shut you down. You have an option to follow government guidelines or not. The public decides whether or not those options are valid or not me. The government says here, and this is what the government can change. If it's wrong, if it's right, it can change. But not just that. I would also provide this for other people who are part of organizations, right? So the Barrington would have been right there. Here's what they believe is the right thing to do. And boom. And if they want to give out their own stamp, they may. I don't mind. The only crime and only punishment would happen is if you lie. That's fraud. So if you're not following the Barringtons, what they're telling you, and you put a stamp and my inspectors come by, they will fine you. That's fraud. You are lying to your customers. That's fraud. It's a crime. If you say you're following government guidelines and you're not, that's crime. That's fraud. You can say I'm following none of it. I don't care. Come in my place if you want to. Okay, don't put a stamp on your business. Up to you. I want the government to maintain honesty, to protect the consumer with honesty, not with rules. I'm not going to punish you because you don't follow my guidelines. I'll reward you if you follow any of those. And then your community will decide. Here's what I said then, and I believe it now. Within 3 months, we would have known what the proper guidelines are. Because some people would have been following government guidelines. Some people would have been following other people's guidelines. Some people would be following nobody's guidelines. And we figured out who's getting sick and who's not. Oh, okay, they're getting sick. They're not. These are the right ones. We should probably follow those. And the government would then change. You go, oh, we found out. We were wrong here. We were right here. Let's shift and adjust and go here. Done. Once I use force, Matt, I now have to double and triple down. If I don't use force, I can change all I want. Now, one more thing I want to bring up. What I learned from that is that when I become governor, I'm going to push for a constitutional amendment to the New York State Constitution based upon the First Amendment to ban all lockdowns no matter what. No lockdowns no matter why. What people think of the First Amendment, they think of it as freedom of speech. True. But it's also freedom of association, freedom to petition the government, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, all those things. The lockdowns stop all 5 of those. The lockdowns literally destroyed the First Amendment in every way, shape, and form. And they should be unconstitutional, but they weren't because we were scared. I'm not mad because people are scared. I get it. I was scared too. I had 2 people in my life who were over 85 and had pre-existing conditions. I was scared for them. Of course I was scared. They're my loved ones. Sadly, both of them since then have passed, not of COVID, but they have passed since then. They were older and were already ill. They were going to pass soon. So it wasn't shocking. Sad, of course, but it wasn't shocking. But of course I was afraid. But me being afraid doesn't mean, great, now, Jay, do as I say. You are now, you now must do what I say because I'm scared. No, I was afraid, so I should take precautions that make me and my family feel appropriate, right? You own your life. It's your family. Do as you see fit. So ban the lockdowns, and it must be an amendment to the Constitution, and it must be linked direct to the First Amendment. Why? If it isn't, if it's just a law, the governor will go, it's an emergency, and ignore it. That's what will happen. It must be a constitutional amendment, and then it must be linked to the First Amendment so that when they challenge it, they will lose.
So does this also apply to mandates? Because what we saw in New York was there was a time where the heroes of the first responders, they were the heroes, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And 77,000 healthcare workers got fired in New York, and there was not really any apology after that. Meanwhile, you got people being bribed with cheeseburgers and French fries to go get a vax. And we were talking about Mamdani earlier. He said on record way after this lockdown and COVID is over, he's saying he doesn't regret any of it and thinks that if it happens again, there should be a mandate. And that's a shocking thing to hear him say. So how would
that's not shocking at all? No. I remember people saying, Larry, you shouldn't be so mad. We should have grace. We didn't know any better. And what I ask is, are you saying that you were wrong to lock us down, period? Or are you saying you're wrong because you didn't know any better? If you knew better, then it was okay to lock you down. If your answer is, we should have never done it, I'm open to grace. My hand is out. I get it. You were afraid. You made mistakes. You learned your lesson. You knew it was wrong. Don't do it again. I'm in. Let's hug and be buddies. I'm in. But they're not saying that, Matt. You're right. They're not. What they're saying is, well, no, we didn't know. If we knew better, then we can crush your life. Then we can destroy your business. Then we can wreck your family. Then we can crush your children. Then we can ruin your career. It's totally fine if we just know more. No grace. They are wrong. I'm not shocked. That's how they always do it. I have no grace. That's why I'm saying constitutional amendment. I don't trust any of these guys. They all think they know better. They all think they're smarter. No. I don't care if they're smarter than me. It doesn't matter. You don't get to rule my life because you're smarter than me. You don't get to. So no. But the second piece I'll bring up, mandates are wrong. And what I mean by that is, if I'm telling you that you must put something in your body, then I can go as far as I want to go.
Yep.
That is something I cannot go there. Once I cross that line, I can go anywhere. No. Now, here's the issue. If we had done what I said, and we had watched the people taking on those 3 or 4 different ideas, what would have happened is we would have seen what was working and what wasn't working. And how do humans react? They react. If they would have seen that, oh my God, the jab is the best thing in the world, we'd have rushed to get it. We would have, that's what humans do. We would have rushed to get it because, oh my God, look at the guys who are dying, look at people who aren't. We would have rushed to get it. If you're like, it doesn't matter, we wouldn't have got it. How do we know? The flu shots.
Mm-hmm.
They're not mandatory. People who have seen them work in their own life, go get them. People who don't go, I don't care. They don't get them. There's evidence everywhere. So if we would have seen the jab work perfectly, people would have rushed to get it. We wouldn't have had to worry about it. And if we would have seen people go, it's not doing anything, they wouldn't have got it.
Also, about the flu shot, I never, ever in my life remember anybody who got the flu shot saying it only works if I got it too. So that's another, that's a new one that we've all had to kind of wrap our heads around. It's crazy we've come to that place.
And it came out after the fact that they never even tested it to see if it stopped transmission. The only thing they had tested it for was if it quote unquote prevented severe disease or not. So all those rules that were intended to stop transmission by mandating the shots were literally based on nothing. Meanwhile, they're telling all of us to follow the science. And, last point just on that topic, I want, if everyone only focuses on one side, and that's protecting the health of people, and don't consider the economic impacts of what happened. Like after the pandemic, it came out that 40% of small and medium-sized Black businesses were permanently closed after the pandemic. But the Democratic Party claims to be the party that wants to empower minorities in this
That's
country,
what they say. I don't see that, but they say that.
That doesn't seem very empowering to me. So, we have to ask ourselves, what's the impact? Well, the impact is it empowered Amazon, it empowered Walmart, it empowered monopolies, and it shifted wealth from the bottom all the way to the top. And the 100%. CARES Act was actually crafted by none other than BlackRock. Larry Fink was the one who got on the phone with the congressman and told them, hey guys, this is how we need to distribute the money. And that's what happened. So it may seem at face value like they're doing it because they care about you and they want to protect your health, but just dive a little bit deeper. That's all I'd encourage people to do.
Yeah. Well, my point is I see people in the chat saying things like this shot is bad, this shot is bad. As governor, how am I supposed to know which shot is the best shot? I'm not. So let the people figure it out. We will figure it out. It's how it works. If it starts working, if we would have seen that everybody who didn't get the jab drops dead, I mean, that's obviously not true. But if we had seen that, we'd be taking a jab everywhere, wouldn't we? We'd just see it. We would just do it. We would. I wouldn't have to order you.
I have to have a cheeseburger offered. Then I'll.
Correct. Yep. But look, I want to go one step further. The cheeseburger part didn't bother me. The fact that a government sponsored it bothered me.
Yeah.
If some company wants to virtue signal to get you to buy more hamburgers, I don't really care. Good. Some company wants to virtue signal. But that wasn't that. That was the mayor of my city doing that during official press conferences. That's my problem. If some burger joint thinks they're going to get more customers by giving hamburgers for jabs, whatever. I don't care, right? Do what you want. That's your issue. But now I can decide I don't want the hamburger. I don't care about hamburgers. Or maybe I was going to get the jab anyway, and now I get a burger. Life is good, right? Whatever. I don't care if it's private like that. The problem is what people see. And I know as a libertarian, I don't see this, but I know most people do. People see the government as official. When the government does it, and what we hear, we listen to and pay attention to executives, meaning mayors, governors, presidents, vice presidents, lieutenant governors. We look at executives. When congressmen talk, we go, whatever, stupid congressman. When senators talk, whatever, stupid senator. We don't care. But when a governor talks, we listen. That's our culture. I don't necessarily mean me and you, Jay. I just mean our culture as Americans. We listen to executives. So when the mayor says, get the jab and get a burger, literally hundreds of thousands of people went, yeah, that happened. Why? Because it's a mayor. It's our culture. We have to break that culture. But before we break it, guys like me are going to run for governor, so you'll listen to me.
Well, I would say to make the analogy to the bus system, so we talk about free buses and possibly even free subways, I would say if they were offering me a cheeseburger to get on the bus, I would definitely be skeptical about why do you want me to get on the bus now? So that would be my pushback to even if the burger joint did it. I'd be like, that's it. They can do it. I agree. But I also say that's a red flag. I don't think I want to go in there.
Yes.
You need me to come in for free. Interesting. Okay.
Yes. There you go. Yes.
So I think we have to wrap it up here in a minute. Is there anything I know so much more we could even be talking. We could go on for a few hours with you, Larry.
I asked how many hours do you have? I asked that question up front. Yes.
But anything last you want to leave us with and the viewers as far as continuing to follow what you're doing as we move into
yes. Here's the most important piece. Yeah. If you live in New York State and you want change, you have to vote third party, period. You just have to. You can see it right now in New York City. Sadly, for the Republican Party, Curtis Sliwa is becoming the spoiler. The Republican Party is now the spoiler party. That's how it is in New York State. the Democrats that in Nebraska and Utah. That's how it works. So if you want change electorally, you have to vote third party. But Larry, you can't win. It does not matter. Impact matters. How do I know this? RFK Jr. RFK Jr. did not win, but he had enough that he made change. He made impact. You have to vote that. If you don't vote that, you will get the same thing. You will get Kathy Hochul again with no change to anything. So you must vote third party. To make that happen, we have to get more third parties so we can run locally, right? Obviously, I want to win. And if I'm able to get matching funds, this becomes a winnable race. I'll cover that in a second. But even if I don't win, if I just get ballot access because enough of you voted, I need 130,000 votes on both lines. If you vote, 130,000 of you vote on both lines, those are two new parties, which means now they'll start voting locally. How do I know that? In 2018, when I got ballot access for the Libertarian Party, in 2019, I covered the state again. And when I covered the state, we had 107 local victories. They were all like city council, water board, school board. They were local. We had a DA. So we had 107 local victories. You want localism? You want change? Get that third party. We'll start moving forward. Now, matching funds in New York State. If you don't live in New York State, please give me money. Why? Because what happens in my state will go to your state. It's how it works every single time. So you should care. If you live in New York State, you better give me money. It's your state. Go do it, of course. But here's the most important piece. New York State has what's called matching funds. If you live in New York State and you give anywhere from $5 to $250, somewhere in that area, not less than 5, not more than 250, New York State will match it 6 times. So if you give me $10, they give me 60. You give me $50, they give me 300. You give me $100, they give me 600. You give me $200, they give me 1,200. But to do that, I have to get to $500,000. Now, I've done that twice before. I raised $500,000 both times I ran, but I didn't make it all from New York State. About half it came from New York State. So now I have to double what I made last time from New York State. If you live in New York State, go to LarrySharpe.com, donate between $5 and $250. They will match it. When I reach $500,000, New York State will give me $3 million. I'm not joking. That's matching funds. When that happens, this becomes a winnable race. Now you're looking at a guy who could actually, with $3 million, we can become governor. That can actually happen. So LarrySharpe.com, guys, help out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Larry. And then my last question is, when you do win, when are you going to book your flight to Israel? And if you say no, why are you so anti-Semitic? I just wanted to throw that out there.
That is a great question. And be very clear. I have no plans of going to Israel, and no plans for 2 reasons. One, I have no connection to Israel. I'm not Jewish. I don't have family or friends over there. So no reason to go visit. So even for vacation, no reason to go. And second, I'm running for New York State governor. I'm not looking. It's not a state issue, so I wouldn't care anyway. So no, don't care. And anti-Semitism doesn't count anymore in New York State. It doesn't. It doesn't land. It bounces off. It's dumb. It's silly. It's not true. I live in New York City. At least a third of my friends are Jewish, right? So yeah, it's not a thing. And if anybody wants to call me anti-Semitic, go ahead. I don't care. It's dumb. It doesn't work. I know it's not true. My Jewish friends know it's not true. My stepdad's Jewish. So no, not a thing. Thank you.
You got it.
Yep. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate your time.
Super chat that came in. The poll that Stephanie just bought. # say Larry Sharpe. Thanks for that.
What that means is there was a poll that just came out. But the Manhattan Institute just did a poll, and they were trying to make it as if Stefanik is going to be beating Hochul. That's a fantasy. The Manhattan Institute bought that poll. I was talking about buying polls. They bought it. It's a bullshit poll. It's not true at all. But here's the part that's true. They did 4 things. There's Stefanik, Hochul, and using these polls, they did Stefanik, Hochul, undecided. They didn't do that. They did Stefanik, Hochul, other, undecided. Why other? Because I've already announced. They want to see where I was. Other got 9%. And then undecided. Other is me, but they won't say my name. That's why she says, say my name. It should be Hochul, Stefanik, Larry Sharpe. Larry Sharpe's at 9% already. That's the point.
And I want people to remember, if that holds through to the election, that means we now have 2 independent parties on the ballot in New York. And I'll be honest with you, Larry, I listened to your platform and I think to myself, as someone who's leaned left my whole life, I could vote for you. If I was in New York, I would vote for you. So I've already donated to you once. I do plan on giving you some more money because what happens in New York, like you said, a lot of eyes, go on it. And I do think we really need to spark this independent wave in the country because the Democrats and Republicans are just playing lesser of two evils back and forth. And that's going to take us down a dark, dark path. It's already taken us there and it's only getting worse. So we got to break the pattern.
Yes. Let me do my last piece if I could. My last piece for independent parties. Number one, the We the People Party will be able to create its own platform. Mm-hmm. So it can be as left or as right as it wants to be. It'll be independent. It can change as it sees fit. It can be a single issue platform any given year if it wants to, right? We the People can do what We the People wants to do. If I'm elected governor, I will also move the state to become a citizens ballot initiative state. So you can also not decide you're not going to run many candidates. You're going to push ballot initiatives. Up to you. The party can do as it sees fit. So I want it to be able to do things so we can get stuff done. Last piece on this. If you are a Democrat Republican, over the past 25 years, the Democrats have controlled all three. They have controlled the presidency, Congress, and the Supreme Court. I would ask you, if you're from the left, where's Medicare for all? Right? Where's codification of Roe v. Wade? Nowhere. You didn't get what you wanted. They lied to you. Now, if you're a Republican, great. The Republican Party has also controlled the presidency, both houses of Congress, and the Supreme Court. Great. Where's your balanced budget amendment? Where's your comprehensive immigration change? Nowhere. You don't get what you want. So why would you keep doing this? They don't solve any problems. They just keep fighting on other guy bad. If you keep voting for this, you still will not get anything you want. You vote for the third party, you will get something. Again, how do I know this? RFK Jr.
Yep.
RFK Jr. ran and he got something. He got HHS. You may not like HHS. Some people can't stand him. Some people hate him. I get it. You can hate him or not. He got what he wanted. So follow his way. Get the guy or gal that you think is right with the things that you want done. Have them run independent and then have them make change in whatever you want. Whether you like what he did, his model is the right model.
Larry Sharpe, candidate for New York governor 2026. Love what you're talking about. Love what you're representing. And we got you back. Thank you so much for the conversation on the homeless left. We hope to have you back again soon.
Have a good one, guys.